cast of R&B. The cast of R&B with Hillary and Eddie. With Hillary and Eddie.
We didn't pay you. We didn't pay you to sing though. Stop.
Listen, welcome to another episode of the Cast of R&B.
I'm Hillary.
I'm Eddie.
Hillary, aka Killer Hills. Would you like to speak, Silver Fox? Would you like to not interrupt the woman and
special
take your place after?
It's my special day.
It is your special day. Is that why you thought you could talk over me?
Absolutely. That's what they do.
Mm.
That's
They?
Hillary. That's Hillary. They. Stay away from they.
Mm.
That's Hillary, aka Killer Hills.
Okay. Shoot him up. Bang, bang.
I'm Eddie
But the
Black.
LA Reid version, the deal version. Shoot him up. Move.
No curl version.
Smooth.
I'm the Silver Fox, and shout out to me being a member of Kappa Alpha Psi for 20 years today.
His name is also Eddie. He's supposed to say, I'm Eddie, aka the Silver Fox, but he's very excited about the Silver Fox brand. He really wants to push it.
Listen, especially now with this hair growing back in.
And then also there are all these other gray people on the Instagrams who now are no longer dyeing their hair. And Eddie's like, I'm an OG Silver Fox. All these bitches want to be like me. And that's really where this is coming.
Facts.
You're very handsome, Eddie. Congratulations on being a cane twirling pretty dude. Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Shout out for me.
He really clapped for himself. I just want to, okay. And on this episode of the Cast of R&B, we are talking with Chris Chambers, an architect of some of the biggest R&B careers during some of their best and worst moments. He will get you out of trouble, child. He will fix it. Jesus.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. I'm excited to talk to you, too.
First of all, we got to talk about these silk pajamas that Chris has on.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this a top? What are we doing?
It's not silk pajamas. It's a shirt that just happens to be
That resembles.
That's all.
Because I was deep in your Instagram and I saw this shirt and it has matching pants. So is this like, this is a different.
Let me tell you, the pants actually look like it's matching, but it's a Valentino pant and the shirt.
I knew he was going to flex on us. I knew he was going to be like, these are designer pajamas, sweetie. That's basically what he told me. But continue. Tell me about your designer pajamas. I want to know.
It's just a little comfort, a little home, thing.
Cast of R&B. Cast of R&B with Hillary and Eddie. With Hillary and Eddie.
Welcome to another episode of the Cast of R&B.
I'm Hillary, aka Killer Hills.
I am Eddie Blackman, aka the Silver Fox. If you cannot see it, it's all coming in. I'm gonna go back to this look.
Go back? Oh, right, because not the silveriness, but the most minuscule-ish of a fro that he's got going on.
I'm gonna go back to the sexy. I'm gonna bring sexy back like Jay.
Right, and he's really going hard with this Silver Fox thing because there are a lot of other people who are no longer dying. I don't want to say it's the Philly fade trend is fading off, but I am saying that, people can't get to their folks. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of gray, white-haired struggle situations. And Eddie is really like, no, I am one of the OG bad bitches of the silver, letting your grays come in. These people are newcomers and they don't have my swag or my longevity.
I was actually thinking about dyeing my hair black just for the sake of saying I had something different, but just for like the moment and then letting it grow back out.
To be fair, I wouldn't even know who you were.
I haven't seen myself with black hair since I was like 17, but that was 2 lifetimes ago.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know who you are with not gray hair, but that's cool. You know, I also feel like I should wish you a pretty niggaversary. So,
AKA 20 years in the bond of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Yes, thank you very much. I was going to give myself another hand clap, but I'm going to wait to do that. For our guest today, none other than the PR extraordinaire, Mr. Chris Chambers, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
he's the architect of some of the biggest R&B careers during some of their best moments and their worst moments, because he will fix it, child, like Jesus.
He's like the Olivia Pope of PR.
In silk pajamas, ladies and gentlemen.
I appreciate that, guys. I mean, you know, it's to be greeted so well. I mean, by you two, it just, you know, it warms my heart.
It's only right.
So he's also the head of the Chamber Group, which you've had for how long now?
It's already been 13 years.
Wow.
No,
That's it?
yeah,
Nah, longer than that.
yeah, no, it's been about 13 years.
And that's how long you've not been working for the man. I respect it.
I mean, you know, it's not something I saw for myself, but you know, the universe has its way of like guiding you, showing you where you need to be. And I think I was at a point where I really wanted to challenge myself and figure out what's next after spending so many years in at the labels and having a good time, building great relationships, iconic moments, experiences that honestly will someday make a great book. But you know, I definitely got to a point where I was like, okay, what's next? Because I knew I didn't want to be, you know, a president of a label or
Yeah,
really,
that sounds terrible. Nobody wants that.
no, but it was one of those situations where I was fortunate where in the time that I was in the label system, you know, it was that great era in music where there were budgets and we were developing stars and artists wanted to be stars. And it was a really, it was the last of that great moment, you know, when you didn't do, if the video didn't turn out right, you reshot it, you know.
It was 200,000. Reshoot it.
You know.
The Hype Williams era of,
For the sake
I mean,
of,
to be fair though, they did that with Nicki Minaj. Nobody wants to remember that one video she shot with Hype and then kablitz. And I don't know how much money
several
they
times
for her to crawl around in the sand, but she was like, I hate it, banish it.
Banish it.
And we, you know, they took
that was common back in the day. You know, we would sit in the meetings. If a video was like, we didn't hit it, okay, call Little X, call them, you know.
break out another $500,000.
Basically.
no problem. So for the sake of the listeners, why don't you take us back and to the starting point of which label, which artist, and kind of bring us forward?
Well, it started for me really when I was in college. I was attending NYU and I was a journalism major. And at the time, you know, of course we live in New York and it was just really competitive to get an internship at, you know, one of the local TV stations and newspapers and so forth. So the journalism department found me an internship at a small PR firm called Set to Run. Set to Run was a boutique firm that worked with all the labels at the time. It was owned by a woman by the name of Layla Turkan. Layla was good friends with like Russell and Lior when they were running Def Jam. Donnie Ienner was running Columbia. Sylvia was at Elektra. And that's where everybody went. Like, and so, you know, their internship program started with myself, Miguel Beguer. Who else was there that you guys would know? I mean, it was a real solid group that kind of started there and flourished into, you know, these PRs all over. And it was such a great learning experience because the firm was small and they really wanted us to learn. And so we went in and they had us writing releases, attending shoots. And this little company was the PR arm for Def Jam. So it was LL, PE, Boss, Nice and Smooth.
I remember her.
Well, no, Nice and Smooth was Columbia, or was it Columbia Def Jam? Anyway, it was just all of that. And, you know, it was a great experience. And then from there, I was a junior in college, and then they had a job for me. They offered me a job, but I had another year left in school. So I kind of went in and out and did some special projects with them. And then when I was graduating the following year, they offered me a job again. And so I was like, okay, cool. I don't have to look for a job. And then that's where it started.
So out of curiosity, what's an entry level position at that time? What's the salary for that?
I was a PR assistant, probably making probably if I was like somewhere between 19 and 20,000, like, you know, like
that was the world to you back then.
Exactly. And you know, it was such a period where you enjoyed what you did, you hustled, you worked late, you went to all the events and the parties, you were at the office by like 9 o'clock. It was just such a different feel, because I look at the young people now and it's like, you know, the assistants, they leave before me, you know, they don't really want to go to events. They're like, I'm going home. It's so, you know, I look and I'm like, wow, I wonder if they're enjoying this experience, enjoying the environment, because I know we worked hard, but we enjoyed it, and we enjoyed learning and gathering the information and wanting to be. I think the thing with us, we wanted to be our bosses and we wanted their jobs. Mm-hmm. And there's a difference with that mentality, you know, and it really, you know, that era spawned a lot of great executives. You know, I mean, I came up with, you know, and you guys know these names. I don't know if everyone listening or, you know, will, but like, you know, the Tracy Waples, the Rhonda Cowens, the David Belgrave that was at Sony for the longest. I mean, just, you know, you guys know, like,
yeah.
It was
a lot of people have their own shops now. They were like, that was cool, bye, but also pay me to do the same thing at my house.
Yeah, no. And so from there, I went, you know, I started as a PR assistant, moved up pretty quickly because I stayed at Set to Run for a while. And then before I left, the last major thing I did was launch Fat Farm for Russell.
Oh, wow.
A small achievement.
That was like my entryway into like fashion, music, you know, the whole, you know, when fashion now became part of the music thing. And, you know, it was just one of those things. Russell was like, here's my Rolodex, call Beth Ann Hardison, she'll help you. Call Veronica, oh yeah, these are my girls at Vogue, call that. And again, guys, it was such a, you know, it was just such a period of like, instead of being like, I don't do that, it was like, all right. Oh, Beth Ann, Russell said that you would help me, you know, Fat Farm, he's launching it. So who should I call and interview? What should I, and I made it work.
Yeah.
This is where your love of silk pajamas started.
Tell me a little bit about these silk pajamas that we have on. So I know that you're not going to tell me that they're from Target or even Polo like my pajamas are. I feel like I'm going to get stunted on, but I'm asking for it. Literally.
No, this is a shirt. I feel like the shirt is.
Here comes the name drop.
Wait for it.
Maybe. But it's a shirt. It's not a pajama set, but it's cut like a pajama. You know, it's in style.
Okay.
Fit and flare pajamas. Oh, see, this is what you get to do, ladies and gentlemen, when you're a business vet who started his own shop, and you're fabulous and wealthy, living in your own apartment that New York Times has written about.
Please.
I do have one question.
Yes.
So where is the fountain of youth in your home?
I think it's behind the stairwell, like maybe just
if
behind.
If you move just
if he just goes to the
right
side, he can share whatever he and his client Naomi Campbell be drinking on the low.
And then he'd be shipping out to Pharrell and Sade too.
I think that they're all drinking from the same cup. That's not safe during the times of Corona. I just want to say
it's the Jamaican genes. I'm telling you, it's all the, you know, the good eating, the vitamins, the herbs, and the food.
Mangoes. As my Jamaican husband would say, it's the mangoes.
Exactly.
The 75 different kinds of mangoes. That's what it is. Oh my goodness. So tell us a little bit about like transitioning into fashion, because I know that was a big part of your expansion, especially with your own company, not just doing music. You wanted to do like brands.
Yep. Well, I mean, there was always an interest in fashion, and I think, and it spawned from like my childhood, like my mom and whatnot. And then going to NYU at the time, it just kind of furthered it because, you know, NYU, if people don't know, is in the heart of what we used to call the Village, downtown Manhattan. And at the time it was so, the art scene, the fashion scene, whatever. And, you know, everyone, I mean, you had the Asian kids coming to class in Prada. You had the club kids coming into class in like, you know, the big bell bottoms, the big hats, blah, blah, blah. And it was just such a creative space. And I think it just fueled the interest that was already there. And so when it kind of started, you know, and I'm gonna tell you a funny story. I was working at LL Cool J when I was still at Set to Run, the 14 Shots to the Dome album, maybe.
Okay.
And somehow, I don't even know now how this happened, but there's a French designer, Jean-Paul Gaultier, and at the time, you know, everyone knew him because he had made those cones, that cone bar for Madonna.
I already know what you're gonna say.
And
the Vogue.
Yeah, and then I don't know.
He's confused.
Somehow, no, somehow I had connected with him and his right hand in Paris. I don't remember why or how. The next thing I know, I'm having lunch in New York with LL, Jean-Paul Gaultier, and his right hand. And they were interested in like making LL like some stuff for his tour or whatever. And it kind of, just the whole idea of like building relationships with the designers and the artists, it kind of started from that little place. And then when I moved over to Arista and working with Usher and, you know, that whole era, and Toni Braxton and whatnot, it kind of
Outcast
went further.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and Outcast, which was a big fashion moment as well, because it was one of those things too where like Andre and Big Boy were used to doing their own costuming and everything. And I'll never forget, the first time Andre actually wore like looks from designers was this one shoot we did with GQ. And it was such an iconic shoot because it was like a 6-page spread and just like the best of the best. And nobody had seen him look like that. And he wouldn't, you know, he had never let anyone style him before. And he did for that particular shoot. And after that, it just like took off.
Mm. So tell me a little bit about, did you have to like coax him into it, or because I know that sometimes when you're working with artists, their brand and how they're perceived is very important to them. And so as a PR person, often it's your job to talk them into their next level.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think with Andre and Big Boy, it was, you know, they're so creative that I don't know if I would say talking them into it, but more like having them see different point of views, and how it's not about changing your brand or changing what you're about as a creative force, but actually adding to the plate. Because yes, your audience now sees you one way and it works, but you always want to switch it up if you're an artist and a creative force. And I think he saw that, okay, you know what? At the end of the day, even though it may not be my norm to wear, you know, Versace or Armani or Dolce & Gabbana, it was still a fresh look for you to do it this one time because nobody has seen it before. And you can still go back to, you know, the hockey shorts, the skirts, the floral dresses, all of it, you know. And so it, you know, in that sense, it was just one of those things where I think me showing him how it's really not changing him, it worked. Yeah.
How did that play into like some of the larger sort of more iconic looks for R&B divas? So we have like Toni Braxton, right? And we have her just like basically slaying, you know, now also. But like at that time, she would come out and like my male friends would just be like, I love her. And I'd be like,
let's be clear, Toni is still fine.
She's still fine. That's why I said also now. And at that time, you know, I don't think J-Lo had done the dress yet. So Toni had, I think it was the white dress with the nothing, like in the Unbreak My Heart dress.
It was that white Gucci dress, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
so tell me a little bit about those kinds of things.
Well, you know what? I think also too, working, because before Arista, I was at Interscope with Jimmy Iovine.
Right, with the Black Eyed Peas and Eve and Eminem and Maya and all that.
I worked, you know, Black Eyed Peas, Eve,
Black Eyed Peas when they had the black girl, Black Eyed Peas after they got Fergie. That's a joke, I know.
Hillary.
Boom, boom.
That was pre-Girls. It was just Black Eyed Peas.
Listen, I love Fergie though. She's a white girl that works hard. I respect it.
But no, it's, you know, it was different. It was definitely a change because, you know, working for Jimmy and Interscope at the time, it was straight up, you know, hits. Like it was Teddy Riley hits and Blackstreet. It was Rough Riders with Eve. It was Dungeon Family with, you know, that whole crew. And it was a rock. It was just a rock label that like banged out R&B, hip hop hits, and, you know, alternative. And then I went to Interscope with, you know, when LA took over. I mean, Arista took over, and that was like going from, you know, like the Boogie Down Bronx to like Central Pay. And because Ascots
were popping.
Yes. I've been to LA's office at dinner time. Do you know what he offered us for food? Please, gentlemen, what do you think he offered us for food?
Chicken satay.
I mean,
the fact that you thought it was going to actually be food is a joke. He was like, here are nuts because no one is fat around me.
I mean, it's the taste level. The taste level is beyond
different.
Beyond. Different. So, you know, working for someone like LA and what he's about, where the aesthetic is rich, it's glamour, it's sexy.
Your pajamas.
No, but well, silk pajamas. And it's like, you know, and you really, it wasn't just about the music, which were hits. It was really about lifestyle, the whole brand. And, you know, LA was about things that looked beautiful. It's like beauty, that's all he saw. So, you know, working with artists like Toni, it was about glamour. It was about sexy. It was never about, oh, rolling up in just like jeans and some kicks or whatever for her, you know, and knowing how LA thinks and what he likes to see, he's looking for someone like me to bring those opportunities to the artist and taking and pushing it as far as we can go, you know. And that's what, you know, that is what I did, and it worked for many years in terms of helping develop the brand, you know, these iconic brands. I mean,
tell me a little bit more about the Toni Braxton brand, because I feel like now we're seeing her be spicy on Twitter, for example, during the the Babyface Teddy Riley. Yeah. And she was like, listen, I'm gonna have to log off because this is embarrassing. Somebody call me when my songs are on. I was like, oh, is this how Toni Braxton is usually? This is,
but you know what though?
illuminating.
The thing about it is Toni was always like spicy in her own way. It's just that she's also, you know, she comes from that era of polished and a lady and whatnot. So, you know, what the
diva.
Yeah. So what you saw was always
It's also called grown.
that too, you know, and I think that's what we saw, where it was always put together, you know, sweet, and Toni's amazingly she's just a good person, and a very warm person, but she also is funny and quick and you know, just a girl, you know, and I think, you know, she's at that point now in her life and career where she can let you see all that, you know. It's like, and should, you know, because we're in this age where it's not about perfection anymore. We have to remember there was a time where, you know, they wanted Whitney, Toni, Mariah, all of them to be this thing. And unfortunately, it can be damaging, and was damaging to a lot of these artists, to live in this character 24/7, because it wasn't really who they are.
So tell me a little bit about that, because I understand that you did work with Whitney Houston for a time.
A little bit. I mean, I was on the team Whitney, but like, you know, my boss at the time, Laura Swanson, was kind of more the Whitney person. But, you know, again, it's Whitney, so it's like, oh yeah, Chris was part of, you know, that mix in. Again, an amazing talent, extremely funny, you know, just a very special gift that graced us with like her voice. And I think her story, you know, it ended very tragic and sad, because I do think that part of the tragedy was the fact that, you know, they were able to paint this perfect picture of Whitney, and she wasn't perfect.
And that was kind of the great part, right?
You know, and I think that as she got older, it was hard for her to live in this character that Clive and everyone created. And because the Whitney that we saw she was always that Whitney, but, you know, as you get, you know, as she became a grown woman, you know, I'm sure it was a struggle to live in that public image, yeah, that was created for her.
Thank God there wasn't social media back then.
Exactly. I mean,
Whitney would have killed Twitter though. Boy, that would have been Hilarious. Her and Tupac. Give it to me. I want it. I want all the inappropriate jokes that they'll act like somebody had hacked them the next day and be like, I didn't say that. Somebody took my phone. Like all that kind of stuff. You're like, no.
Imagine the tweet, crack is whack.
That was still my favorite. Whitney didn't do crack. Crack is whack.
Y'all
But also post Whitney comments when Robin went on Wendy and told her she was gonna fight her. That time when Wendy was talking shit about Whitney, she was like, "Yeah, we were literally thinking about how to run up on you, sis."
Yep.
And Whitney was like, "Oh," and Robin was like, "Yeah." It's like, fuck nation, I love it. It was good.
No.
So tell me a little bit about like how you feel like the business structure has changed from PR, and I'll let Eddie take this part over as the A&R of the group.
Well, the business has changed because I think technology has had a big part to do with how the business overall has changed. I think it has changed how the artists that they're signing and looking for, and the era of iTunes has changed the business, because as we know here in this conversation, when we were coming up, it was about buying a dope album, a full album with cuts and singles and a body of work, where now, if you have a single that's hot and sells, that's the project. Like, oh, we got a million copies sold, we're good. So it's changed the business too, where I just think that we're in this era where it's not about being great anymore. We're in this era that okay is good enough.
Okay is acceptable, and what it was.
And I came from an era where there was no okay. It was either a smash or go back to work, and it wasn't about putting things out, whether it's an image, a video, a single, that was just, okay, let's try it. We're in this era now where the bar is so low, and you see it in the artists. I mean, the one thing that we can say, when Teddy and Babyface got it right, you sat there and you were like, that's royalty right there. Those are artists. Those are real artists. We're not seeing that anymore. We're really not. These kids coming up, they walk into my office thinking that they're making me. It's like, I've been here 20-something years. Do you know who? You know who I've worked with? And you really think because you have a single on the radio that you're making my career? It's interesting. I laugh a lot because between the managers and the so-called managers today and the artists, they have such egos that I'm like, come with a real, a resume of what you've accomplished. Show me what you've done, so then I can get pretty.
Likes.
SoundCloud is popping.
I have likes on Instagram. I've been a trending topic, and I survived. I assume. But yeah, I mean, I think there are more. I think there still are artists out there, but it's the democratization of the music industry has, I think, made it harder to find.
Oh yeah,
no. The struggle, and I know Eddie talks about that a lot. Just like how much music he consumes to do his job is like can be.
It's challenging because especially with given my job and servicing independent artists, the influx of music. It's like, I'm an artist. You have one song out, you're not an artist, right? Like, we come from an era where we understand what it takes to make a superstar artist. I've been doing these A&R sessions on Zoom with some of my colleagues, and one of the questions that somebody posed was like, what's the biggest superstar from the data era? And somebody said Little Nas X, and I said, I don't know that he's a superstar. I mean, obviously he had a great song and had a great run at radio, but
Felicia did a very good job.
Absolute amazing job. But Lil Nas X hasn't even toured yet.
Exactly.
You can't be a superstar and not tour. So, you know, it's hard, and I'll be interested to get your take on it. What do you think will take to build a superstar in this new data era?
I think we're heading back into a place of creativity. I think those artists that really have the talent and the creativity are the ones that will really sustain and rise to the top. And it may not be an overnight success story, but I do feel that we're seeing talent out there that you know will be around for a long time and will have huge careers. I just hope that the industry will support those talents that really could bring back the era of superstardom. Because honestly, the last, you know, that level of superstardom, we haven't seen it out of this era yet. You know, that last era has been like Beyonce, Rihanna, Gaga. You know, I mean, if you want to go across the board, I mean, in terms of just all genres, like Adele, you know, it's, you know, of course we have to include, Kanye, you know.
For better or for worse.
Yeah.
Mostly worse lately.
But you know, you're just not seeing that. And see, the names that we just said, they all have the word that I would describe as uniqueness. There's a unique, because even Adele, without a lot of the bells and whistles, she's a powerhouse. And we've seen that. And of course, we know what B does, we know what Ree does. You know, we know what Kanye has brought to us and given to us in, you know, during his ultra creative moments. And, you know, I just think I think that the talents are out there. I do think that the industry itself, because they've lowered the bar, the standards so much, it doesn't doesn't allow the artists to push themselves to greatness. You know, I think they write checks really too quickly, big checks, and they don't allow someone to be hungry for, like, you know, the hunger is gone so fast, and we know the hunger is what can drive the greatness.
So how do you feel like the music business structure has changed in terms of like artist development? Does it now fall to people like you as like a PR, but also like a marketing guru? Like,
I mean, I think PR now is definitely more than media. I think that it is branding, artist development, so forth. I do think that that is the one thing that's missing from the industry altogether in terms of building superstars. You know, I worked for the three guys in music that are the star builders.
Jimmy Iovine, Clive Davis,
L.A. Reid, and Clive Davis.
Clive Davis.
After that, where are they today? Who are those people? I mean, it
We talk about it
is,
all the time. All the time.
it's like
Do y'all come up with names and answers?
they did not, they knew not only hit records, but they knew how to develop a superstar. And you know, people can say what they want, and everyone's about, oh, that's old school and that's old school. Well, you know what? Sometimes you got to respect old school and what came before you to continue greatness, because you need to always take a little bit of old school, if you want to call it, and apply it to what's going on today and build on that. And I find that a lot young people today in the business, they just don't have any respect for things before them. I mean, I remember with an artist, you know, they were defending Nicki, you know, at the time when Nicki was coming out, and I think Nicki is
Much
talented,
time.
but I was like,
Nicki in the beginning?
yeah, in the beginning, but you know, I was like, guys, do you not understand that we had Foxy and Kim that was also doing Calvin Klein and was also doing all of that and was
Well,
still
Versace.
and had the streets on lock. And so, you know, don't act, because their thing was they were acting like it's a new formula. I'm like, y'all have Google these girls, and you'll see that you'll see that they were doing that, you know, but it's like
Theory.
it's just no respect that no, what y'all think is new is honestly it's not. Like
I don't know if it's like not respect, but I think this goes for like, it doesn't matter what age you are in this age of complete access to information. It's like people know less. It's wild. And it really crosses age barriers. It's not even just like this generation. It's like real grown-ups. Well, you'll ask them something and be like, wow, you just like did not Google that thing. You are whole ass wrong. And they'll be like, this is, you know, it was just wild to me. But I will say, I remember when Nicki came out and I was like, oh, wow, look at Lil' Kim. But also like Thugalicious. I'm here for it. I like it. And then when they started beefing, I was like, oh, this is terrible. I really wanted Lil' Kim to handle this better. And then it was very funny when Cardi B and Nicki Minaj had the exact same thing happen. And I was like, oh my God, Nicki, you're playing this so wrong. You have to remember when this happened to you. Yeah. That was so funny. I was like, wow, history be repeating itself. Look at that.
It really, I mean, we saw it with Foxy and Kim.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's, yeah.
Friends on a Source cover together. And then years later, they were like, don't touch me. I will fight you in the street. I was like, dang, why?
So you obviously, as you said, worked for, you know, some of the greats who know how to identify stars, build stars, you know. Yep. At what point did you decide that you were going to leave the label system and start your own thing?
Well, I mean, it definitely wasn't planned. Like, I remember I was overseas with Usher. We were in Milan for the men's shows, and he was a guest of Mr. Armani. And then after that, we were going to Paris for couture or something. Anyway.
It sounds like a very terrible trip that I would definitely be like, oh my God, I hate my job. This is a terrible job.
And so, I mean, it was one of those, now, when you talk about memorable experiences, that was one of those, like, gone out of the office for like almost 2 weeks, running around Europe. You know, Mr. Armani was like, oh, well, you know, since you have like a couple of days before couture starts in Paris, why don't you stay at my place in where were we? In Saint-Tropez. And so we're at Mr. Armani's house in Saint-Tropez, you know, they're like just not like, and you know, everyone's there. Puff is in Saint-Tropez, this one, that one.
Champagne problems.
Then we
the struggle child. Ooh, the ghetto.
And then we leave Saint-Tropez and we go to Paris for couture, and then finally came home. And you know, somewhere on that trip, I was like, I think I'm done.
That's called the aha moment.
I've crested.
It was just one of those things where I felt like creatively, I kind of I did it. At the time, I was like, I was either a VP. No, I was a senior VP. I was a SVP of media relations and whatever. And
At BMG, Sony. Continue.
yep. And I came back and I met with Clive and Charles Goldstuck, and I was like, listen, you guys are amazing. They treated me so well, but I said, because I had a year left on my contract, and I said, you know, I don't want to. I'm letting you know now. I don't think I'm gonna renew, and let's not even go through the motions, because I just feel like it's time for me to figure out what that next challenge is. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that it was time for me to challenge myself. I had gotten to a place where I didn't want to stay in the business and be complacent and be one of those people that collected a big check and just like, you know, oh yeah, I roll in at 11, you know, I go out to dinner, spend $500, and then, you know, it's like, I've seen that there's nothing wrong with if that's the way you want to live, but I just felt like creatively, I knew I had a lot left in me that I wanted to try my hand at, and I didn't know what that was, but I just knew that I was done with the label. So they wouldn't let me leave early, but I worked a whole year until my contract was up. But in between that time, I was talking to people outside, like, you know, I was up for a job at MAC Cosmetics, like to run global PR, and, you know, met with Ralph Lauren's son, David Lauren, and, you know, where they were offering me like, you know, overseeing men's collections and stuff like that. So I was, you know, the good thing about that period was it showed me that at least, even though I worked in the label system, I wasn't boxed into just being a music publicist.
Seems
And
like everything was fluid.
yeah, and people saw that, they recognized that, because honestly, I didn't know anything about cosmetics, and they called me and they were like, no, Chris, we don't run this place like Revlon or whatever. It's run kind of like a entertainment company, you know, and because you remember they were doing the Viva Glam and all that stuff.
With Mary and the goddess, Shirley Manson. Yeah.
So it was like, and I was like, okay, I mean, and it really went far, like the whole process. And then by the time it came back around, I had made up my mind that I was gonna start my, you know, do my own thing, because Steve Stout and like David Lauren, other people they were like, we think that you should do your own thing and just work with everyone. And that's when the idea came. And then when my last days were coming up, Clive, you know, he said to me, listen, we love you. We want to work with you still. Why don't we make you a consultant and you work these projects and whatever. And they gave me so much work that I had to hire my assistant, bring him with me. And then that's how the Chamber Group was formed.
Wow. Nice. So who were some of your first clients?
It was all of like, you know, Usher, all the stuff that I was working at the time, like Outkast, all that, because when I was leaving, by the time I left, those projects were still somewhere on like going or something. And then my first client outside of the Sony BMG stuff was Jill Scott.
Living my life like it's golden. Question, because at some point we as executives go through this thing, like we hit this moment in our career where we say we're ready to try something different. Like what year, what time, like what was your age? Like when did you hit that moment that you're referring to?
I was in my late 30s. Yeah, I was like in my mid to late 30s. You know, because I really, you know, my career started, as I said, like really from NYU. So, I mean, that's why you know, I can say I've been in it for so long because the reality is I was already doing PR by the time I was 21 or 22 because I graduated when I was 20 or 21, you know, and went straight into, you know, the business.
The job.
So you're working with basically all of the artists at Arista. You're working with Jill Scott. You're working with Ro James.
Yep.
Which is obviously where we first crossed paths.
Yep.
And because of your amazing work, got us a record deal at RCA. Thank you. I got a check out of that. Thank you.
What are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned as, you know, a self-starter, your own business?
Well, you know what? I'll say this. You know, running your own business is definitely a lot of work. And as much as everyone thinks that, you know, I'm on fire and the chamber group is on fire and they do this, it's a lot of work. And I mean, there are days where I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. But I love the challenge. I feel like every day I'm learning something new. And for me, that's what drives me. I'm a person that to get the best out of me, I have to be challenged. I'm not a person that if I'm too comfortable or don't have that uneasy feeling like, oh, can I pull this off? You're not gonna get the best out of me. That's why I'm very careful in who I work with, because I really have to feel that passion, that fire, that wow, I need to be a part of this because I know I can add something to this. I know that I can, because of my vision, I can help move them into that next space, you know. But if that thing isn't there that really excites me, yeah, you're not gonna get the best out of me, I think. You know, I think I'm always gonna be a driving force, and I'm very hard on myself, but I love to be inspired. And I think that's the other part of why fashion and music and all of that has worked for me, because, you know, I've literally built relationships with all the major fashion houses. I mean, from all of them. I mean, the Armanis to the Pradas to the, you know, Valentino, blah, blah, blah. And
Gave you the pajamas.
they gave me the pajamas. But I think what I love is that to see these artists create and bang out these collections, and you wonder where the vision comes from. And like, I'm talking to like Pier Paolo from Valentino, and he's like telling me about, you know, dreams and art that inspired the collection. And I'm like, wow, like, you're an artist. You know, it's not even about clothes. It's like, you're an artist. And, you know, that moves me. It just drives me. And I think sometimes I feel like I wish the business was a little bit more in that space of being ultra, like just more creative. I feel like sometimes it's so cookie cutter, and you know, that's why even at the Chamber Group, we turn down a lot of business, because I'm like, if you're not coming to me to take you to the moon, it's not gonna work, because my vision is so out there, and it's so, I sometimes see people larger than they see themselves. And when that happens, it's always a disconnect, because I'm bringing opportunities to you that you can't even imagine yet. And so you're not even understanding that I'm literally, you see yourself in this box, I see you in this, you know,
Well, how do you bring the best out of your clients? How do you convince them? How do you show them?
By pushing and fighting and coming with knowledge and letting them see that they need to
And
think.
dragging them.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Like, this is fancy for dragging, it sounds like. Continue.
You know, it's you know, it's sometimes it's a fight, but I also think that the smart ones understand that I know and that I'm trying to guide them to a place of like excellence and so forth. And, you know, not that I'm right, but I just want you to always, if you say you're an artist, I want you to present your art and be, yes, and be big. It's beyond like New York. Sometimes I think everyone's like, oh, but we're in New York, and New York, it's like, no, you should want to fucking rule the world. You know, that's how I feel. Like, I love going into rooms where I don't know people and I'm building relationships and like, you know, starting fresh where, you know, I find that people, they only want to be in rooms where they know people. That's when you're comfortable.
So how do you feel like a new starlet can break themselves, like in the time of, you know, Corona, on social media, obviously, and online, but then also maintain their integrity? Because I know it's a lot of places seem like they're very one-trick pony. It's like, you know, Doja Cat, shout out to her because she's very talented. And so she managed to like dress up like a cow, but also be like, look at how I can sing though. Oh, and I rap too. And I have a huge ass, and you love it. You love all of it. You love all of it. And I'm going to make a song about it. It's going to be called Juicy. And that'll keep me, you know, but like, how can maybe somebody who doesn't have that sort of internet savvy naturally be able to like break themselves? Is it possible to be an internet celebrity and also maintain your integrity?
I think if you're very clear on what your brand is and you look at those opportunities that work for your brand and don't you're not doing things just to do it for the look, instead of, oh, does this really benefit me in a way that, okay, is it adding to what you know, what my brand is it elevating me a little bit, is it helping to tell my story? If it's not bringing some kind of value, my thing is, why do it? You know, and that's the thing. I think sometimes we're in such this era that people feel that, oh my God, if I disappear for 2 seconds, I'm not, you know, they're gonna forget me. No, they're not. Like, honestly, make the moments that you do appear memorable, but make it memorable where it's smart, it works for you, it makes sense for you. You know, what you're seeing Joe and Mary and so on, so forth doing, that may work for what they're about, but it may not work for you. And you have to understand, like, when an artist is clear on who they are, everything else falls in line. When you're cloudy and you're not sure, then it's hard for even the team around you to be precise in what those opportunities are, because you don't know yourself, and you should be directing that ship. Like, you have to say as an artist, this is what I'm about, this is who I am, and then the team can fall in line and make sure that everyone is moving in the same direction. If that's not happening,
yeah, the problem is a lot of these artists don't know who they are, and they don't know what their brand is. They make a song, they put it on SoundCloud, it shoots up, they don't have a manager, they call their homeboy to ask them to manage them, and everybody, you know, it's the blind leading the blind. And then you have these disasters, right? In terms of them saying, you know, look, I've worked with a couple of artists who have said, you know, some silly things like George Bush doesn't care about black people. You know, there's been a couple of.
That was right, though. He was right.
I'm not saying that he was wrong, It was just not the right time, and it was a PR nightmare. But to that point, what is like one of the
God
biggest
bless
PR nightmares that you had to deal with?
I mean, there've been so many.
Well, we know.
We know. You're like, should I talk about Chris and Rihanna and the tears? Should I talk about Usher and saving him 79 times?
I came in after that a little bit, but I mean, I had to deal with it. But I mean, I think for me, I know that it's part of the job. And even though I don't consider myself a crisis management specialist, I know that those things come up, and that, you know, you have to be really smart, really strategic, and knowing what makes sense to guide the client out of that fire, you know, and working closely with their management and legal team in terms of what is the message, or maybe there shouldn't be a message. You know, I think each situation is always so different, because there are those moments where, you know, we shouldn't say anything. I mean, just because, you know what, certain things have to write itself out. And, you know, especially if you know that there is your side is the truthful side, and you know that it's going to lead into that. Sometimes it's not even necessary to say anything, because, you know, then you're kind of furthering the story altogether, when you know that, oh, they're about to hear and see the truth, and then it goes away. Where sometimes you're, you know, all the little posts and the you know, Twitter posts and so forth, it just prolongs the conversation, and then everyone's wondering, well, why is it still around? Like, shouldn't it have died? Because we're talking it up, we're keeping the dialogue going, you know. So it just depends.
Do you find it more challenging in the social media era to do your job? And I mean that by saying, you know, 10, 15 years ago, when there was no Twitter, when there's no Instagram, artists didn't have that outlet of saying things, right? They had to be interviewed by, you know, great people like Hillary. But now, you know, we see it, you know, they just wake up and,
exactly, no. And unfortunately, because of social media, they're also, you know, the artists have access to just throw out their thoughts quickly, easy, and then it's like, oh, did you see what I said?
Let me delete real quick.
Did you see what I said? They call and ask you, did you see my tweet?
I mean, it's really, I mean,
help me, Chris. Stop me from myself.
No, it sounds crazy, but a lot of times the artist will put something out, and then they see the comments, the press is now on top of them. And it's like, that's when you get the call, like, oh, I said something and I think I should.
Whoops.
And then they get dragged and they get told about the history of artistry.
And it's like,
burn it all down with one tweet.
So true or false, the statement, there is no such thing as bad press. True or false?
False.
Why?
I think that again, if something, to me, if the story, I just think that we're living in an era where, yes, people think that you should be out there every day, all day, they should be talking your name, whatever. But if it's not building your brand, if it's not furthering your brand, why do we think that all press is good press? It's like there is that place of leaving a little mystery there so people can actually still be interested and discover and be excited. I mean, for me, it's so hard to get me excited over talent, because I'm like, we put so much out there. I'm like, wow, what is there left to say? Because you've kind of given them all the magic. So there's nothing now for you to like surprise me with, or you know, give me a new twist in like just a part of your story that I didn't know existed. I mean, it's between Instagram, Facebook, all of it. I think it has affected the media world, because now magazines are just like, okay, who should we put on the story, and I mean on the cover, and what is the story? Because honestly, because of Instagram, you're looking at the story daily of these artists, how they live, what they're recording, what they're wearing, where they shop, their families, their boyfriend, girlfriend, did it. So it's like, okay, so by the time you do the article, what is there, what are we going to discover out of this article?
Mhm. It's challenging, and I think it's
Very challenging.
interesting going into what the post-quarantine will look like, right? You know, when you're at the Grammys and you're at the red carpet and everybody's like this with less than 6 feet. Like, how are they gonna handle that? Live perform, like there's just so many questions on the other side of what this is, that I think that's the scary part for us as executives and as in the music business, because
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, we really don't know. And it's gonna be a different, it's gonna be a different day. And, I will say, I personally feel that post-corona, I feel we're gonna see a driving force of creativity. I feel like the best of the best is gonna continue to rise. And I think those people and those situations that are like a lot of noise are gonna fall to the wayside, because we're gonna be in this era where the clutter is so moved away that we're gonna really see, okay, who's the real deal and who's not. And I think we're gonna also wanna move in those circles of people that really are, what they say they are, and come with the goods. And I think all those talkers and the bullshitters and, the hanger-ons, I think they're going to be challenged. And how do I stay hot? How do I stay, because
I think it's already happening. The influencers are falling off.
Right now, because we're all in the well, like me, I'm in the garage, but I just had this conversation yesterday.
No.
We're not at the club taking pictures with the artist. We're not, we're not in the studio.
No.
Posted up. We're all in the same playing field, and this is
if
really
if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
That's the real question.
But yeah, no, it's very strange.
Yeah.
But I do have one more artist relations question, because you are such a goat. So I just have to ask, how, like, for example, with the Mariah Carey fix of 2015, how did you do it? Because that was a moment where she was very much not oversharing, right? But then the publicity spill was just divorce, a lot of things, maybe a breakdown, and she hadn't been public about her bipolar diagnosis at that point. So like, how did you come in and sort of like reshape that before she had to do her Vegas run?
Well, I mean, and I came in right before she started the Vegas run, but I will say this, I honestly love Mariah. Like,
she's a kiki. She is very much like, do you just have to wear heels and take champagne bubble baths and then she'll have a conversation with you?
No, you know what? I'll tell you this honestly, one of the sweetest individuals, so kind, a very kind individual. And I will say I totally enjoyed working with her. I think she's uber talented, and I was fortunate, because during the time that I worked with Mariah, we developed such a a relationship. I think she got me and what I could bring to the table. And because I saw a side of her that I didn't know existed or was there, it was a very refreshing situation for me, because I think she allowed me at the time to guide her in those areas that she wasn't really sure about. And I think for someone that has been in the business so long, you know, to see that she allowed me to, you know, bring my thoughts, my opinions to the table, I appreciated that, you know, and it worked. It worked. We were able to do some great things together, and you know, I think that we would have still worked together if, you know, there weren't like some craziness around her at the time, and I was
exterior influences.
Yes. And I could not, you know, I was just like, peace out, like, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know,
But
and
was that one? Did you fix that situation by sort of getting in front of the story, saying what it was, and then back and being like, we are not making any other comments?
No, I think with, at the time, Mariah, she allowed me to guide her in dealing with the press and how to tell her story and get her points across the way she wanted, what she wanted the world to know. And at the time it just worked. I think more drama came after I left. You know, and again, a lot of it, you know, I think, you know, it can be the whole team does work in sync in what you see. And I think if there's certain parts and things that aren't right, it can look so dysfunctional to the public. And I think a lot of times when we see certain craziness surrounding the artist, it's because the team, there are those missing elements. And it just, unfortunately, that one person, because that's who we're focused on, they're gonna look like they're the problem child. But sometimes it's not. It's just that the team isn't strong and creating that you know, that healthy synergy, I should say, around the talent. And sometimes it goes haywire.
Yeah. Oh, and this is not to at all, you know, deride Mama Mariah, because she's the creme de la creme child. She's great. I love her. She has her own lighting person. I was like, how do I?
Exactly.
We had an event at Genius, and I told them, I said, listen, y'all worried about this lighting. That's not your concern. She has her own person. They were like, Hillary, you don't know things. I was like, oh, I know. You'll see. And they were like, oh, I saw how they did it, child. She brought her own person. I said,
She gets paid.
a goat.
She got paid $19,000 or $20,000, the same as Chris's entry level position. That's the lighting person. Mariah's lighting person got paid $19,000.
Listen, they are integral to her team.
Basically, you know, good lighting is everything.
So speaking of good lighting and those who don't need it, like yourself, I really have a question, just selfishly. Well, for myself and Eddie, I think he wants to know too. What is your skin routine? Because you just turned a whole 50 and you look fabulous. There, outside of wearing silk pajamas that are not pajamas, they're very fancy shirts that are tailored and designed around your fabulous home that was written up in the New York Times. What do you do to take care of this?
I mean, no, to be honest, it's, you know what? I just get a lot of rest. Like,
oh my God, this is where artists get that bullshit from. You know, I just drink a lot of water and sleep. I just exercise.
But see what had happened was I woke up like this.
No, but I'm gonna really tell you. Like, for me, I think as you know, as I was getting older, I was just more about, I'm always about like eating well, exercise, and like sleep and, you know, rest. And I really try to avoid those things that I feel are unhealthy. It's not so much about like, for me, the aesthetic and like, oh my God, I need to look like I'm 30 or 35 or whatever. No, it's really just about being healthy. And somehow it just worked. And then, yeah, I mean, that's really what it is. It's like,
So there's
it's,
no night cream, there's no rose water, no balm, no face roller.
It's all of the sunlight in these
I
fabulous
mean,
places that he
honestly,
travels to.
I'm gonna tell you this. It's going to any good beach like Jamaica. I love the islands. Like I'm a beach person, so love the sun. I'm not a sunscreen person and all that stuff. No, I like sun. And you know, it always kills me when like Black people say to each other like, oh my God, you're getting too much sun, like you're gonna get darker. I'm like, I know, but that's what I
That's the
want.
point. That's the point, though.
Hello.
Not skin cancer, but also just the chocolateness.
But no, it's, you know, it really, for me, and also too, I will say,
The face cream name?
no,
You're gonna
no,
say it?
but you know, being in this business can really be hard physically on people. And I've
Right. How are you still looking like a child? I don't understand.
Whole point.
I've seen good friends, close friends pass away from like, you know, colon cancer and, you know, having a heart attack in front of their doctor, you know, just going to the doctor and, you know, and at young ages. And it just really, I realized that I had to really make make a promise to myself that I wasn't going to let the stress of work and the business like ever drive me into the grave. And that's why, you know, I'm very clear with certain people, like if my style of work doesn't work for you, we shouldn't work together, because I'm not gonna be on the phone at midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning, you know, talking about what you think, you know, what you think is, you know, the end all to be all problem, when it's like, no, you missed a flight. Okay, well, the travel agent will book another one.
Call
Or,
me. Boy, you better call a travel agent.
you know, yeah, you know, just like all
They have that? Can't you just go on kayak?
I mean,
I'm poor. I don't know. What is this travel agent bullshit?
no, it's
new world.
you know, I think it's entertainment, and sometimes we take it way too seriously, and people are like, you know, we just have to put things into perspective. And I feel like this Corona thing and COVID-19, this whole period of like us sitting still for a minute was almost necessary, because I think we got to a place of not looking at what's really important in life and what are the real priorities, and got really out of control in making, you know, material things and certain looks, you know, in front of like health and family and you know, just things that are real, you know, are real. And I live my life now where I know my priorities are my family, my friends, myself, and then the chamber group. And if that doesn't work for, you know, a client or whatever, it just doesn't work for you. And I understand that. But I'm not gonna allow you to put me in a place where I'm not taking care of myself. I'm not making myself a priority, because when you're sick and in the hospital, or when a person passes on, everyone moves on. They're like, oh yeah, I'm in the studio tomorrow with so and so. Oh yeah, we're doing the photo shoot, blah blah blah. it moves on. And so if you don't make yourself a priority, you know, who will?
That's what I used to always say. Like, child, we're not curing cancer.
Not
Go to
caring.
the doctor.
Really not.
Take that break. Take that vacation. Ask for that paycheck. Like,
And it's okay. It's like taking a week off or two is not it. You know, people act like when you say, "Oh my God, you're taking 10 days off," it's like, really? Like, oh my, how?
I don't think people feel like that anymore, Chris. We've been in the house for 2 months. So.
Yeah, 2 months.
2.5.
2 months.
2.5.
We've been in here. We've been inside, as people have been saying. We've been inside.
Brother Chris Chambers,
Clap.
with all of knowledge. Before we let you get out of here.
I really appreciate you guys having me on. I mean, I enjoyed the conversation. You know, I have so much respect for the two of you. I've known you guys for the
likewise.
Yeah, seriously.
But before you get out of here, we're gonna play a little game.
Uh-huh.
You didn't think you were gonna play a game tonight.
No, I didn't. I'm like, oh God, what's this?
Shit. So sometimes with our artists that come on, we play a game called Name Your Tune.
Uh-huh.
But you have worked with so many artists, so I'm gonna give you a few tunes, and you have to tell me which artist it was.
Okay. Oh God.
Ready?
Okay.
I'll give you an easy one to start. Ready? Touch My Body. You have to tell me the artist.
I know. Mariah.
Dang.
Got it?
Uh-huh.
He's scared. He's like, wait a minute.
He's nervous. He's like, ah.
All right. Next song, Promise.
I'll body roll. It's a clue.
Usher.
I'm body rolling. Come enjoy the night. Goodbye. I just wanna love
Seattle.
you.
Maya.
Pregnant. Pregnant. She lives in Seattle.
She lives in Seattle now.
She's from Atlanta.
Sierra.
Oh,
I body rolled for you, Chris.
Cece. Sierra.
This is when you know you've worked with too many people.
I know, but no.
Used to body roll, Hillary. I don't know.
Oh, that one I should have gotten that one.
Don't worry, we won't let Cece know.
Yeah, don't tell her. Don't tell her.
All right. Next one, Fool's Gold.
That one I don't know.
That's a toughie, to be fair.
Is it really?
Kind of. Jill Scott.
That was a...
Oh my God. Like that one was, I mean...
I loved that song.
That was a great record. For the sake of it. All right, we got two more for you. See how it goes.
Aggressive, the beeps. Okay.
You know, I like the little buttons now. This hopefully should be an easy one. Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of Allegiance?
Or Pledge Allegiance. Sorry, not Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge Allegiance.
Allegiance.
America?
I pledge allegiance to your love. This was our first project. We worked together.
Bro?
The question face.
That was the question face, like, bro.
Bro?
I don't know. I hope so.
All right.
My memory, you have to remember, I'm old now. So, like, my memory is a little bit like...
Listen.
Like the night creams you won't share with us? A secret.
The night cream, the moisturizer,
the rose water, and the roller.
Last one before we get out of here.
Okay.
Case of the X.
Oh. Maya. No? Yeah.
Yes, gentlemen, you got it. Once again, Mr. Chris Chambers, thank you for joining the cast of R&B.
Thank you.
Hillary.
Oh, sorry. Is that what we're doing? You cut out. Sorry. He's Eddie.
the Silver Fox.
Oh, sorry. Well, you didn't say I'm Killer Hills.
Oh Lord, we're out of here. Cast of R&B. She's out of control.
Am I? Silver Fox? The end.
The end.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Oh, and we'll be working together soon on Mr. Young
I
Band.
hope so.